We've bought this skimmer from Spanish company GRE because of the fact that this colour matches our swimming pool. Inside the box you find a skimmer unit, skimmer basket, adapter pieces, floating covers, as well as the lid for the skimmer and an attachment for your vacuum. The installation of the skimmer didn't take very long at all. You're talking about half an hour to an hour. First of all, you've got to make sure that you've got all the connection pieces to attach a hose to your skimmer. I've gone with an adapter piece to attach the 38mm Intex hose straight to the skimmer, but you can also use the adapter that's provided. You'll have to use hose clamps then. First of all, this fitting is not watertight, so you've got to wrap some tape around it. Here I'm doing just that. This tape is not the greatest, as you can see. It winds off a little bit, it's a bit split, but it still did the job, and there's no water leaks afterwards. Make sure you've got ample of circles around the thread, and afterwards you can easily screw it into the skimmer base. Provided in the package is this seal. It's a rubber seal that prevents leakage of the water between the liner where you're going to make the cutout. I decided to slice this seal in half, so I've got an outer and an inner side, because I want to install the skimmer first before I cut the hole in the liner. Use a sharp blade. Be careful, take your time, don't be hasty with this process. As you can see, I've sped this up. I know I cut in the wrong direction towards my hands, but this is all I could do to have a clear visual of where I was cutting. I let the knife do the cutting, don't force anything, and it came out great in the end. Just take your time, be careful. Blades, especially these ones, are very sharp. Next, I decided on installing the bypass, so I can switch between the water coming from the skimmer or from the old inlet towards the pump. I don't like this outlet, don't like this bypass. I will be changing it shortly after this video, but this is all that I had for the time being. This is the cover that goes inside the pool. The seal goes in between this cover and the liner, and on the front of this there's a faceplate that covers up the screw holes. On the faceplate it gives you clear indication of the max and minimum water levels, and this plate can be easily removed because it's only held in with four plugs. Once you've taken the faceplate off, in this case I can easily access the back of it, so it was easy for me to just clip these out from the back. There is slots at the front to clip these out with a knife, but I decided to go for the easy route. I made sure that I made a mark on the inside of this that will later be covered up by the faceplate, so I know what the top is when I go to install this in the pool. Onto the actual installation in the pool. Make sure you got it right where you want it. The centre of two posts is usually a good place to have it. I decided not to go higher than seeing as this is the usual height of our water line, I decided to keep the skimmer underneath the grey seam. In my opinion, the safest spot to have it, and it's not gonna damage anything here. I poked through the holes with a sharp screwdriver first. I only did this with the first 3 holes because the screws that are provided with this specific skimmer have got pointy tips, so they're easy. You can easily poke them through the liner. Next, I install the seal. Make sure it lined up with all the holes. Next, making sure the seal is right where it needs to be, that lines up with the holes. I decided to put the screw through first, the middle one at the top, finding the hole that I pre-drilled, screwing it through, and then next will be the 2 screws on either side. The skimmer is not the outside of the pool yet. I will be attaching 2 more screws first at the bottom of this plate, and then I will be connecting the skimmer on the outside of the pool. Next is the 2 screws at the bottom on the left and the right. As I said, I did not pre-drill these ones. They can, because of the pointy tip of these screws, you can easily poke them through the liner. Unfortunately, I forgot to take some footage of how the screws look poking through the liner on the outside, but let's get on with it. Make sure you've got the seal on the outside. Make sure the floating flap is installed in the skimmer. In this particular skimmer you cannot install afterwards, so you'll have to do it before you tighten everything up. Then the first couple of screws are being tightened, not too tight, because I still need some wiggle room for the other screws that are going in. There's still 5 screws missing at this point. They're all being tightened, hand tight. Don't use power tools. Power tools can possibly crack the plastic, but you still need it tight enough so the seal can make a good connection and make sure there's no water leakage. After everything's tightened up, double checked, this is how it's going to look like. You've got the skimmer installed, but there's still the liner that needs to be cut through. Before we're going to cut the hole in the liner, make sure all the pipes, all the hoses are connected, because once the liner is cut, the water will come rushing through the skimmer. So I attach my line to the filter pump, and then off we go to the scary bit. Well, after watching a couple of YouTube videos, it's not as scary as you might think. This should work. If it doesn't work, we'll have to replace the pool, but hopefully it won't come to that. Cutting through the liner, make sure you you do it from the middle towards the outside. Make sure you stay nice and tight to the cover. Always be careful that you don't have an accident here and cut through the liner in a place where you don't need to cut through it. Take your time with this. It is scary, but once you've gone through, there's no way back, so you've got to finish the job. On the inside is the floating cap, the floating flap, so that's a little bit in the way for me, but I managed to get it done in the end. Once the square bit of the liner is out, make sure you keep it for future repairs. I go back again with my knife and just trim a little bit on the edges. With the scary part of the installation out of the way, it's time to wrap up the video. The faceplate goes onto the cover inside the pool. This is to hide the screws from view. Some skimmers might have this, some might not. Depends on the make and the model that you have. The last thing to do is to put the cover, the lid, on the skimmer itself. And then it's time to leave you with some action shots of how this skimmer works. I'm very pleased with the end result. The installation was easier than I expected it to be. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.